welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be about a subject which is both dynamic as well as static, which is polity. Okay, and I have an important message to share with you guys. Please watch this video till the end to get that message. Okay, so right now we'll start with the mains question first. Okay, so let's see what the mains question is. This is the mains question. Constitutional morality is rooted in Constitution itself and is founded on its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. Now, I've purposefully taken up this question because this question seems like कि पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गया. We have never heard of it. This term is not mentioned in Lakshmikant, and I don't think a lot of your material also would be, it won't be having it. Probably now it has it because it is a 2021 क्वेश्चन. तो नई चीजें ऐड हो जाती है मटेरियल के अंदर, ठीक है. लेकिन इससे आपको क्या पता चलता है, आज इन्होंने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी पूछ ली, कल को ये कुछ इमोरालिटी पूछ ले, कल को ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल सोफिस्टिकेशन ऐसा कुछ पूछ ले, some different kind of a word which you have never heard of. How will you deal with this? Okay, now first thing that you have to understand here is that it is talking about, you have to explain this doctrine with help of judicial decisions. So imagine giving an answer about something which you don't know anything about. Okay, तो अब यूपीएससी को भी तो पता है ना कि आप क्या पढ़ के जा रहे हो, उन्हें ये भी पता है कि आप कितना पढ़ के जा रहे हो, फिर भी वो आपको पूछ रहा है कि जुडिशियल डिसीजंस भी बताओ इसके अंदर. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि ये जो वर्ड है ना, यू हैव टू कम अप विथ समथिंग which you understand. Okay, you have to give an understanding of your knowledge on this particular topic. So, what is morality in case of layman terms? Okay, what is constitutional morality and what is morality in layman terms? अगर आप किसी बच्चे को भी पूछो, so morality is anything like good deeds. Sorry for that. Could be good deeds, right? Could be consciousness, right. Whatever your conscience tells you to do, that is morality. It could be certain social principles that, India has these certain principles that these are our morals. Okay, we don't do this, we don't do that, etc., etc. We respect our elders. That may not be a morally right thing in some other cultures. Okay, then historically followed principles, that there are certain things that are historically followed. Okay, certain things that we learn in the history. For example, we learned that we are not supposed to, we are supposed to protect our sovereignty. Okay. Otherwise, we will be ruled again by some British or some other person. So that was a historical lesson. So we have to morally respect the person who's ruling us, but at the same time, we have to understand that we can't, give up our independence for that. So at the end of the day, morals are trying to create a balance in our life. Okay. They are trying to create a balance in our life. And how do you think this balance can be made in our life via constitution? Read the question again. It states that the constitutional morality, it is rooted. Okay, it is rooted. Please give me a second. Hmm. Constitutional morality is rooted. It is rooted and it is in the constitution itself. In the constitution itself. So you have to tell that there are certain things that are in the constitution itself which give the morality a justice. Okay. So what would be the constitutional morals? There are certain principles that are going to, I'll just show you the entire thing. There are certain principles that are going to be helping in these particular things, right? Some good deeds, some consciousness, some social principles, some historically followed facts. So can we say that good deeds and the consciousness that is being enforced by the constitution itself on the citizens or on everybody, can we call them as fundamental duties? Yes, we can call them as fundamental duties, right? We can call them as fundamental duties. And social principles and norms can be fundamental rights. For example, there is a social principle that there should not be any discrimination happening in the society. So that is a fundamental right. There should be freedom of speech and expression. That is a fundamental right, right? Then there is DPSP, that there are certain things that we are not making mandatory for you to follow, but still you should follow because you are a good citizen, right? And also the rulers, the makers of the society, the ones who are going to rule us, they should also keep some principles in mind while framing the laws. That is DPSP, right? Then there are certain things that we historically learned, like the rule of law. You can't have any तुगलकी kind of a बादशाह, ठीक है, जो मन में आया बादशाह ने कर दिया. No, There should be a written law and you have to follow that law. ऐसे नहीं कि जब जिसका मन किया, राजा का मन किया वो follow कर लिया. No, this is something we learned through history and we took up from British Constitution. Then we took up something called as fraternity. Indian society has been divided on so many lines, right? On the lines of caste, class, language, color, so many lines. But there should be a feeling of fraternity, right? Secularism. Then there is a principle of secularism that we should all, again, fraternity and brotherhood is related to secularism. Then there is separation of power. That is, we should not have one king. He is the administrator, he is the judiciary, he is the executive. No, there should be separation of power. And these are most beautifully given in the preamble, right? There can be other things you can add to it, to morality. You can add, you know, you can add other things, like freedom of speech and expression is also a kind of morality. That there should we should not curb the justices of people, right? बट अभी फिलहाल के लिए इतना लिखा है क्योंकि 10 नंबर का क्वेश्चन है. ठीक है. Now this thing that I've written here, okay, these things that I wrote here, like this good deeds and all these things, this consciousness and all, this is not something that you're supposed to write in your final answer. This is for your understanding कि जब वहां बैठो तो आपको ऐसा ना हो कि ये तो मैंने कभी पढ़ाई नहीं है तो क्या करूँ, ये सब मत लिख के आना. ठीक है. This what I've written here, this is the actual answer. This is the actual answer. Okay. This part is the answer. Now I'll tell you how the final answer is actually supposed to look like. This is the table for constitutional morality. Okay. I have written these 4 5 things here because it specifically states that you have to give relevant judicial decisions. मेरे पास हर चीज का judicial decision तो है नहीं. ठीक है. इतना याद भी नहीं करा होता है किसी ने. और ये क्वेश्चन देख के वैसे ही आप सोचोगे कि अब क्या लिखें इसके अंदर. तो ऐसे में ना ज्यादा बहुत ही हाई फाई चीजें लिखने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. बस वो चीजें लिख दो जो आपको सबके से आती हैं. ठीक है ना. So I have taken these 4 5 things and these are pretty easy. Most of you know these and most of you can write an answer on these. Okay. First is constitutional supremacy. What is the biggest and the most important case that you know of constitutional supremacy? It is Rishabh Bhatti case, right? Then federal structure. Very important case that you know is SR Bomai case, right? Then you have individual rights. Individual rights we'll take up later on. First we come on to non-discrimination. Okay, non-discrimination. One case that I thought of is Sabrimala case, right? Sabrimala case very famous. Now these two, individual rights and social morality and justice. This individual right one case must be knowing this one. This is the case Swami case. Okay, this is not directly given in Lakshmikant, but it was a pretty famous case, right? Then social morality and justice case. This is again a very important case. You must have heard about it. This is the striking of Article 377, Section 377, sorry, not Article, Section 377. And this was the Navtej Singh Johar case. Okay, you can write any other constitutional morality over here. Morality का कोई एक से बाउंड्री थोड़ी है, आप कुछ भी morality में लिख सकते हो, पर वो लिख देना जिसका आपके पास केस लॉ हो. ठीक है. Now I have not added introduction and conclusion to this because polity is not a static subject completely. It is an evolving subject. आज की डेट में पिछले साल भी ऐसी बहुत सी चीजें हुई हैं जो कि मोरालिटी से रिलेटेड है. ठीक है. सो इट इज बेटर दैट यू ऐड देम इन योर introduction or in your conclusion somewhere or the other so that it shows that you are not somebody who's just read the books. Okay. For example, the one that I can think of right now is you must have heard about these tussle that is going on between the governors of various states and the ruling government, right? That they are not passing the bills, they're just sitting on the bills. So that is constitutional morality kind of a thing. That the governor is a rubber stamp head, right? And he's actually stopping the machinery to work. So the Supreme Court has taken certain steps to stop that from happening. So that can be included in your introduction or in your conclusion somewhere or the other. Okay. Or you can give us some kind of quote in your introduction or in your conclusion. That will make your answer very holistic. But problem सबसे बड़ी कहाँ आती है? When you look at this term, you have never heard of it and you freeze. This is where you have to not freeze and write something or the other down. And if you look at the answers online as well, ना वहाँ पे भी यही दिया हुआ है. Okay. Now we come on to a prelims question. Okay. Look at this question. talks about Indian judiciary, and the first statement is that any judiciary, any retired judge of the Supreme Court of India can be called back to sit and act as a Supreme Court judge by the Chief Justice of India with prior permission of President of India. Direct statement, you know this, this is correct, right? Then we have a High Court in India has the power to review its own judgment as the Supreme Court does. Now, on the facial aspect, when you look at it from the first instance, you think that this is right, but actually this is wrong. This is not the correct statement as per the official answer key. Now, why is it so? What happens is this particular statement is a comparative statement. Just read it again. A high court in India has the power to review its own judgment as the Supreme Court does. As the Supreme Court does. It is a comparative statement. You know that both these courts have a power to review their judgments, but it is not similar. There is territorial differences. There are other differences as well. एंड हम लॉयर तो है नहीं है और भी बहुत डिफरेंस होते ही होंगे ऑब्वियसली बट हमें इतना तो पक्का पक्का पता है कि टेरिटोरियल डिफरेंस तो पक्का पक्का होता है so it is not a comparative thing that you can compare. High Court is not equivalent to Supreme Court. Yes, both of them have the power to review, but it is not equivalent. And this is basically an arts का subject. It is not science का subject. Science में ना facts होते हैं और हमें आदत होती है वो करने की. Most of us do come from science backgrounds, right? हम साइंस के हिसाब से सोचते हैं और साइंस का ब्रेन फैक्चुअली चलता है. बट जो आर्ट्स के सब्जेक्ट होते हैं ना वो थोड़ा एसेंस बेस्ड चलते हैं. अगर आप इसका एसेंस निकालोगे तो इसकी इंग्लिश के अकॉर्डिंग ये कंपैरेटिव है इसीलिए ये फॉल्स है ठीक है सो दिस इज अनदर थिंग दैट यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड नाउ कमिंग बैक टू the thing that I had to tell you. I got a query that, is it okay to skip mocks completely and just rely on PYQs? Now I want to break this bubble for you. Please understand that people who are making these mocks now, they have been doing this even before when you were born. Okay, बहुत पुराने हो चुके हैं वो लोग उन्होंने बहुत सारे सिविल सर्वेंट बना दिए हैं अपनी जिंदगी के अंदर ठीक है दे आर नॉट सपोज टू बी दे आर नॉट स्टूपिड दे आर नॉट डूइंग इट कि आपको कोई फेल करवाना चाहता है ओके and the problem here is you don't know how to use those mocks. That is the problem. It is not that you should not give mocks at all. This series that I started is just for you to understand how UPSC works, how UPSC is asking questions. They are different from the mock questions, but it doesn't mean that you stop giving mocks. You have to give mocks and you have to be consistent and you have to consistently improve and increase your marks in the mocks, but at the same time you have to give a proper give proper time to your PYQs as well, and also your competition is going to give mocks. So if you don't give mocks you will be left behind, so there is no replacement for hard work. Okay, so don't rely completely on PYQs alone. It is a very controversial view. Yes, PYQs are most important, but just solving PYQs is not going to solve your entire purpose. You have to give most. Okay. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to my channel. Let me know how you're liking the content. If you want me to make content on any specific topic, please let me know in the comments. And if you are finding any difficulty in this type of reading or understanding, let me know. And if you really like it, then also please let me know. Thank you so much.